What is going on YouTube? The Assist Man. I am coming back at you guys with another YouTube video. Inside of this video, I'm going to give you guys my first impressions and first initial review and show you guys my first 40 minutes in the brand new game Black Desert Online, which is an MMORPG that is currently in beta that is coming to the Xbox One. Now, I'm going to give you guys all my first impressions initially, how everything happened. First of all, I was going to go ahead and try to create my character. Obviously, my name is The Assist Man. When I went to go ahead and type in The Assist Man, it basically told me that it is a banned word and cannot be used. I don't understand how they could form the word ass out of assist, because assist is an actual real word. But, you know, it is what it is. So that right off the bat, as starting the game, I was like, oh Lord, I don't like where this is going, but hopefully it will actually continue to get better. So I could not create my name because supposedly the game thinks that assist is a banned word or a curse word. But without, you know, all that stuff, I still went in, I named myself The Assist Man with an E, and just said, you know, it's a beta, let's just get it rolling. So I went and looked at the different classes they had, and they got a lot of cool classes in the game. They got a warrior, they got a ranger, they got a sorceress, a berserker, a wizard, and a witch. So I decided to go ahead and make a sorcerer and a wizard just to try them both out. A sorceress, I should say, and just to try them both out and see how I'll actually enjoy the class. Now, right off the bat in the beginning of this video, what I do want to let you guys know is that I have not ever played this game before. I know some people have played it on PC in the past. I've heard a lot of mixed, reviews about this game. I heard it was really, really bad, and I heard a lot of people say it was really, really good. But I wanted to go ahead and try it out. And to me in life, I think that first impressions are everything. You know, when you first meet a woman, or if you first meet a man, the first time you meet them, I believe that the first impressions you make with that person could last for a lifetime. Or when you first meet somebody that you think could be a good friend, when you first meet your boss at a new job, first impressions are everything to me, and I think a lot of people could agree with that. So I was hoping that this game, based upon my first impressions with it, was gonna hit it out of the park. But, let's go ahead and continue on to tell you guys about my first 40 minutes playing Black Desert Online. So right off the bat, obviously I had some issues with creating my name in the game, which wasn't a big issue, but that whole first impressions thing. So then I finally decided to go ahead and create a character, and I loaded the game up, and then I went to the little cutscene. And when I got into the cutscene, right then and there, I just instantly said, man, these graphics look terrible. Absolutely terrible. I'm going to play you guys the opening cutscene that I went through when you first go, from your create a character screen, so you could see exactly what I am talking about. So you pretty much, create your character, load in, you get on this loading screen, and just look at this. I come in and the thing is just stuttering, the audio is skipping. Look at this, it's freezing everywhere, frame rate is at an all-time low, it's lagging, the texturing of the trees and the environment is loading in all extremely slow. It's just really, really bad in my opinion. So as soon as I went ahead and seen this, I was like, wow, this honestly does not look like, a game that should be out in basically 2019. Now, I've seen better games than this 10 years ago. But I'm going to go ahead and play this clip again without me talking, so you could just watch it again and see how bad it was lagging and the audio was skipping and the frame rate was skipping again. Just watch this and actually listen to it. So now that you guys seen exactly what I was talking about when you load up the game, I mean, that was some pretty substantial, lag in the game, some pretty substantial frame rate drop, texturing of the environment and the trees loading in extremely slowly, the audio skipping and making weird noises, but I said, hey, you know, it is what it is, it's a beta, blah, blah, blah. So then I get into the game, and now, like I said, this is my first 40 minutes in Black Desert Online. For the entirety of this clip, I'm not going to cut anything out, and I'm just going to basically speed it up like 2 times, so what you're watching right now is 2 times as fast as it normally happened. And while I was doing this, I was actually in a party with my friend Homicide, who a lot of you guys know from all of my YouTube videos in the past, and me and him were trying this game out together for the first time, and we were saying the exact same thing right off the bat about the graphics. And even inside of the settings menu, there is not even a display settings place to go ahead and change anything. All you have is audio settings, general settings, and interface settings. So there wasn't even any video settings or display settings. Another thing that I realized is that when you're changing things inside of the setting menu, when you actually go to change something and then you want to go back and change something else, every time you close it, you have to go hit start again. You have to go back into the menu. You have to go back into the settings. You have to go back to where you were. I wish they would have made it is when you actually go ahead and make a change to something and you confirm it and you hit close, that you just go back into like the previous little subsection, because keep having to go back into your menu to go back into the settings over and over and over again gets a little bit tedious. So now, with that out the way, I was trying to change a bunch of, settings in the game and just look at the main menu, see what kind of stuff they had in there. Now, me and Homicide were obviously testing out the game and trying out the game ourselves, so we wanted to go see, how the game was together. So I tried going to the party and inviting him through the Xbox party, and it wouldn't work. He kept getting the notifications. It would never bring him in the game. Then I tried to go through the actual game setting itself and invite him that way. He kept going, to the notifications, and once again, it would not work. He kept getting the notifications, but when he accepted them, it wouldn't actually load him up in the game with me. No matter what I tried, no matter what I did, if I went through Xbox or if I went through, the actual friend section in the game itself, we were not able to actually play together, which was a big thing because it is an MMO type game, which you're supposed to want to play with your friends and your teammates and your guildmates and whatnot. So right off the bat, we couldn't even figure out how to play with each other. He went in and he sent me invites as well, and you could see right here, I was going to accept it, and then look what happens. Just nothing happens. Nothing appears on my screen. He never gets added to my game. Nothing. So I don't know if they implemented multiplayer features for the beta, so I don't know if people actually have the capabilities to play with each other, but after about 5 minutes of just trying to invite each other and never being able to play the game, we just gave up and we just decided to start on our own. So, couple things right off the bat. Like I said, first impressions are everything. I couldn't create my name correctly, and the graphics are not good at all. I mean, even when you're playing in the game, everything just looks kind of off. Especially the texturing of everything looks overly too sharp. Nothing looks really detailed. Everything looks kind of like overly sharp and kind of blurred. And another big thing that I noticed as well is that everything looks entirely too bright and washed out. And it wasn't just me saying this. I've seen a lot of people in the chat box in the bottom left talking about it as well, saying how overly bright the game is. The game is too bright, so everything just kind of blends in together. Everything kind of looks washed out due to the brightness. I mean, it's kind of crazy. So, going through and playing the game, you go through a little tutorial thing, a little kind of small thing, just tells you how to look around and move around and do this and do that. And then you got to keep going to talk to people for quests and so on and so forth. But one thing that I did notice while playing the game is that it's kind of like not informative at all, especially when I got further on to the game. I even seen tons of people in the chat, in the chat box, asking, how do you do this? How do you do that? How do you do this? It's like the game is not really thorough on actually trying to tell you how to do things, like how to find this person or what you need to do or how do you equip this thing. It's like you're constantly just looking through the menu trying to figure stuff out, and the game itself is not really informative, especially for a new player. Now obviously if you've been playing this game for a long time, you probably went through some of these same gripes that I had in the beginning, but as time, you know, transpired, you figured it out and adjusted and learned how to play the game correctly and everything. But starting off as a new player, it was a pretty big deal to me because I couldn't figure out how to do anything, and there was really no guides in the game or information to tell you how to do anything. It was just a bunch of people in the chat box just asking, how do you do this, how do you do that? Another thing I want to touch base on is when you first start up the game, you have to choose a server, and it just lists a whole bunch of random names like Valencia and Torin and all kinds of weird names, and it lists them like randomly in a whole entire long list. But the thing is it doesn't tell you what server you should be on. So how do you have any idea what server you're actually joining? Am I joining a North America server? Am I joining a North America West server? Am I joining a North America East server? Am I joining a UK server? Am I joining an Australian server? You just do not know. You just get to randomly pick a server and it doesn't say anything at all about that server. It just gives you some kind of randomly generated name that you have no idea what it is or no idea what server you're going into. So that's another big issue there as well. Like I said, going back to being informative and showing you actually how to do things, the game lags in that side talking about the servers. Speaking about lag, throughout playing this game, I noticed I got a ton of lag, a ton of frame rate drop, a ton of skips in the game. Now look guys, I know this is a beta, but at the same time, I've played games long enough and I've came to the conclusion after many of years that betas basically are just the full game you're gonna get. It's kind of just like a preview. So I never expect too many games to change drastically from the beta to the full game. And in my past experience, 99% of the time, the game that you see in the beta is what you're gonna get in the full game. So that's why I'm looking at this from, you know, a more different perspective. Now, going back about the chat box, how I was saying about the chat box earlier, now you get to the point where the chat box actually shows up in the game. And then pretty much just look at this. Right off the bat, man, I could see the community, people over here talking about people getting cut up and having guns in their face, people saying how they have reasons to drink, how they worked in oil fields for 6 years, and people talking about biker gangs and drinking's better than what they used to do. And look, I could already see as soon as I got in this game that the community to me, man, seems a little jaded. I mean, as soon as I get in the game, people are talking about guns and knives and stabbing people and talking about biker gangs and talking about drinking and how they have to drink and how drinking is better than what they used to do, and talking about Americans, LLL, and, you know, threatening people. I'm just like, oh my God, this is kind of weird. So the chat box, right? It's way too big. I mean, look how much of the area of the game screen that the chat box takes up on the game. It's extremely big. It takes up roughly about, damn near 15 to 20% of the screen. They need to make the chat box on the lower left-hand side about 50% smaller because it takes up a lot of the screen. I mean, not only do you have the chat box taking up like a big portion of the bottom left-hand side of the screen, but then you got all the button things they show you taking up the bottom right-hand side of the screen. You got the top right-hand side of the screen being taken up by the mini-map and your quest. Then you got the top left-hand side of the screen being taken up by your health and your MP power and your level, and so on and so forth. I mean, look how cluttered the screen is right now. It's like basically you're only getting to utilize 65 to 60% of the actual screen to play the game. There's just too much going on the UI of the screen itself. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. And on top of that, it's way too big. So they need to make some changes as far as the chat box goes as well. I've already touched base on how like the game was lagging. I've already touched base on how the game is just way too overly bright. I mean, look how bright my gear is right now as I'm running, and look how bright the dirt is, and the game is just overly bright and is so washed out, and the texturing in the game is just not good at all. Now what I want to talk about is the combat system. I don't like it at all. I've played other RPGs in the past. The main two games that I've always played has been Diablo and Neverwinter. And I'm mostly a Neverwinter gamer. That's why I have a lot of Neverwinter content on my YouTube channel. And coming from games like Diablo and Neverwinter, the combat systems in those games just work flawlessly. They're very, very quick, they're very responsive, they're very snappy. All you have to do in order to hit one of your skills is press a button and blah, blah, blah. In this game, it's not like that at all. The combat seems very, very clunky, like you miss things half the time when you're actually trying to hit them, blah, blah, blah. It's just bad. And another thing I don't like about the combat system inside of this game is that it's all combo move based. In order to hit skills, you have to remember like 50 different combo moves. In order to hit some skills, you have to hold down on the right stick and then hit LB, or hold down LT and right on or and left on the thumbstick. Then you have to hold down LT and RT together, and then LT and RB, then RB and LT, and then up on the thumbstick and then right bumper. It's just too crazy. All of the combat moves are just tons of combos. Like, you have to hit left stick and then RB, then RT. It shouldn't be like that. Coming from games like Diablo and, like I said, Neverwinter, was which I primarily play now, it's a lot more easier. I don't know why they then just map the skills to the actual buttons on the controller, like Y, X, B, and A. So then, like, for instance, in Neverwinter, if you want to use one of your skills, you just hit X. Then it goes back on its cooldown and you can use it again. Or then you can hit Y, then you can hit B, and then you can hit A. And every single one of the skills is just assigned to a specific button. And then if you wanted to use, like, ultimate powers or more skills, then you just hold down LB, and then you have a whole entire another set of skills that you can use with X, Y, B, and A. It makes it a lot easier to utilize it that way, instead of all these combos you have to do in this game. To me, the combat system in this game with all these different combos you have to hit just to perform skill moves doesn't feel like an RPG game to me. It feels like a fighter game. Like, it felt like I was playing like Mortal Kombat or, you know, some other game where you have to hit all these buttons to do all these crazy combo moves, and I don't like that. The combat system really, to me, was just not good at all. It was very clunky, too many combos, the whole nine. A lot of screen tear in this game. I've talked about the lag and the frame rate drop, but a lot of frame rate drop, a lot of lag, a lot of really, really slowly loading in textures, a lot of bad coloring in the game. A lot of that is going on as well. I wanted just to touch base and bring that up one more time in the game. It's massive FPS drops, massive screen tearing, so on and so forth. Another thing that I found out as I was playing in this game is the quests. The quests themselves are just kind of weird. I basically accepted a quest, it gave me a line to go ahead and follow, and all that time that I've been making this video, I was going on the wrong thing. I was following the line, but it was just leading me to nowhere. So why did it give me a line when it didn't even have anything to do with the specific quest I was on? I actually had to go back and run back all the way to the beginning again, just to go ahead and turn back in a quest that I did that it didn't even give me a line to, which was kind of weird as well. So it wasted a ton of my time in this game, and it still drew me a line that pretty much went to nowhere that I had to go. Finally, when I figured that out and I went back to the right spot, I went ahead and I started killing things. Another thing I realized about the quests is when you're first doing them, a lot of them are just asking you to kill specific packs of enemies. And here's another issue, is that when you're doing these quests and you have to get like 15 imp kills or 5 of the immature young tree kills or whatever it was that I was doing in the initial time I was playing it, only the player who last hits the enemy gets credit for the kill. So what I'm basically saying is, if I went up to an enemy and I took 99% of their health away and fought them for a whole 20 seconds, some other player can just come up, hit it one time, kill it, and then get credit for the kill for the quest, and I would not get credit for it at all. That is extremely broken because it took me about 15 minutes just to complete a really simple quest that shouldn't have taken that long at all. It was really bad. So that's another thing is here as far as questing goes, only the last person to actually kill the enemy and get the final hit on them will actually get credit for the quest. I don't know if it's like that in every area, but I know in the 2 little initial things that I played, it definitely worked like that. I tested it. Another thing that I've realized in this game just off first impressions is when you're running around, you don't have your weapon out. If you run into an area where you engage in combat, it'll tell you you are in a combat zone. And if an enemy starts hitting you and you go to start hitting them since you are in a combat zone, and if you're just standing there and an actual enemy attacks you, you go to hit the enemy and you can't do anything to them. You literally actually have to hold down the right stick just to go ahead and bring out your weapon. And then you could hold down the right stick again to put away your weapon. That's something that just is a time-consuming thing that I think that does not need to be in the game. If you are already in a combat area, they should just automatically make you pull out your weapon automatically. If you start already getting hit by an enemy, if you're just standing there, you should automatically have your weapon in your hand. Obviously, if you're in a combat area or if you're getting hit by an enemy, you're going to need to fight back. So why should I have to make an extra step just to pull out my enemy? Or to pull out my weapon on an enemy? When you are actually in combat or getting hit, the game should make you automatically pull out your weapon, so as soon as you start hitting buttons and skills and at wills, you're actually attacking an enemy instead of you having to make an extra step to actually pull out your weapon. It makes no sense how you have to draw it, up and down. As far as it goes, I just seen a lot of people in chat asking how to do stuff. It was not very informative at all. Another thing I seen that is in the top right hand side of the screen where you have the mini map, it shows a time, and that time was completely off to where I was at. And I don't know about you guys if the time is off as well, but I don't know if it's just some weird in-game time for the actual place you're in, if it has something to based upon one of the servers that you randomly picked. But I know when I was playing this game, it would tell me that it's like 5:28 p.m. in the top right hand corner of the game, but where I'm at, it's like 5:35, or I'm sorry, it's like 2:35. So the game tells me it's like 5:28 p.m., but where I live, it's 2:35. So how is it off by like 3 hours and 7 minutes? It just doesn't make sense. And every single time I logged into the game, I've realized that the clock on the upper right-hand map of the game is always different, not only by hours, but by minutes as well. So it seems really, really weird, because I understand time zone changes and stuff, but those are usually in increments of hours, not hours and minutes. So it was just really, really weird. On top of that, there was a lot of bugs in this game, and I seen a lot of people in chat complaining about it as well. There was a whole bunch of quests that were bugged, that you couldn't turn them in, that you had to reset the game in order to turn the quest in. There was multiple bosses that you had to fight and kill, but they didn't show up and they were actually invisible. And then if they did show up, they were actually invisible and you were just sitting there and hitting an invisible person. There's a lot of bugs in this game. What it really boils down to for me, to sum this up, is that I was really, really looking forward to this game for a long time. As a matter of fact, Xbox One X announced this game as part of the Xbox One X when it came out a year and a half, close to 2 years ago, saying that this would be one of the greatest games on Xbox One X. But then the game constantly just got pushed back and pushed back and pushed back, and then now it's looking like it might get pushed back again. So I think that they have a lot of issues with this game. And as I was playing it, like I said, this is all from a first impression standpoint. I played the game for 45 minutes. I basically didn't achieve anything. I wasn't able to create my name. I had a lot of problems with frame rate drop and bad graphics. I didn't know which server to choose. The combat was extremely clunky. The chat box was way too big. The graphics and the colors are way off. The entire screen is way too bright. Questing was a pain in the ass in this game because it took, in 45 minutes, I literally got nothing done. I ran around, couldn't figure out where to go, wasn't informative at all. I was killing stuff and not getting credit for it. I couldn't invite my friends to play with me. They couldn't invite me. I had issues with drawing weapons. I had issues with bugs. As I further play this game, because I've already played it a couple more hours, these exact same issues are still prevalent in the game when I played. And I played it with 2 of my other friends so far, and they are complaining about the exact same things that I am complaining about in this video. At the end of the day, I was really, really looking forward to this game, and like I said, first impressions are everything. Yes, I know this is a beta, but trust me, a lot of the stuff you see in betas is going to just carry on over to the full game. And for the amount of issues that I've seen so far in this game after just playing it for less than an hour, there's a lot of issues with it. A lot of issues. And more or less, I know this is going to be a free-to-play game, coming out on the Xbox whenever it actually gets released. But at this point right now, I'm not happy with it at all, and it doesn't look like a game that I'm actually going to be playing. I will go back and revisit it and give it another try when the full game actually gets released, just to go ahead again and see if they changed anything and if anything changed for the better. But man, there was a lot wrong with this game based upon this beta. Like I said, I know it's a beta, but from my experience and years in the gaming industry, 99% of the time, what you see in the beta is what's going to come out in the full game. Yeah, they might change weapons and other little things here and there, but a lot of the stuff that's wrong with this game lies deep in the actual coding of the game itself, which takes developers a long time to change. Server instability, all kinds of stuff. I can't recommend this game. I did not enjoy playing it. Like I said, I ran around for 45 minutes. I was constantly being taken on the wrong line. I couldn't play with my friends. The clunky combat system, I basically got nothing done in the first 40 minutes I played. So anyway, that's just my first review and first impressions of this game. I want to know from you guys, man, that those of you that are new players to the game, if you tried it, do you agree with me on some of the things that I talked about? Do you disagree with me on some of the things I talked about? How has your experience been in Black Desert Online so far? Have you came across some of the same issues I have? How are you enjoying it? What do you think of it? You know, leave a comment down below. Or if you're one of those guys that's on PC that played it before, let me know how the game went. You know, did you play it and then you didn't like it? Did you play it and now you love it? It got better. I want to know feedback from the community. So leave a comment down below. If you guys did enjoy this video, man, please go ahead and hit that thumbs up like button. And if you have not subscribed to my channel, I would really appreciate it if you would hit the subscribe button as well and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on any of my future content. So anyway, YouTube, this is the Assist Man. I hope you guys did enjoy this video, and until next time, I am out.